few weeks ago we made some lime kombucha with the aim of testing carbonation and different ways to troubleshoot it. And they were inadvertently quite tasty. So this week we're going to try those recipes again with the aim of making them as good as they can be. Because while these experiments are fun, after a lot of beer kit and wine funkiness, it was a bit of a breath of fresh air to have a drinkable kombucha again. And we're going to get started with our classic limeade. There were two issues with our limeade last time. For one, it just wasn't quite limey enough. And with our extended carbonation of about 7 days, it was just too long for me to wait. So this time we're going to try a little bit more lime juice and 5 days of carbonation instead. So I'm adding 1/4 teaspoon of lime zest, 24 grams of fresh lime juice, and 10 grams of simple syrup. And I'm hoping this still has the kick it needs with still a good amount of carbonation after 5 days, because 5 days I can probably wait. 7 days is definitely out of the question. The next one we're redoing is our lime pulp, which last time I used the lime pulp from an entire lime, and it was unpalatably bitter. But I still do appreciate that lime bitterness, and I do kind of expect it, and I do kind of want it. And it wasn't quite as present in all of our other bottles. So I'm going to try this one more time with another 24 grams of lime juice and a 1/4 teaspoon of the zest. And this time only a 1/4 of a lime's worth of pulp. And 10 grams of simple syrup. And this one I'm going to let go for 6 days during carbonation. Next up is lime ginger. Last time we added 21 grams of lime juice, a 1/4 teaspoon of lime zest, and just 1 single gram of grated ginger. And the entire bottle tasted just like ginger. So it doesn't take much to overwhelm, and I'm going to use just a 1/4 gram this time. Everything else will be the same. 1/4 teaspoon of lime zest, 24 grams of lime juice, a 1/4 gram of grated ginger, and then our 10 grams of simple syrup. This one I'm also going to carbonate for 6 days. For our strawberry lime last time, the main issue was that it kind of just tasted like a very flat strawberry daiquiri. And that was mostly because since we had strawberry pulp in the bottle, it created a bunch of nucleation points, all of our carbonation blew out, blah, blah, blah. You can watch the video if you care about that. So this time I'm going to do a 3-stage fermentation where we separate the flavoring and the carbonation. And I'm going to start with the same recipe as last time. This is 85 grams of mashed strawberries. And to that I'm adding our 1/4 teaspoon of lime zest. And this time 27 grams of our lime juice, just because the second issue with our strawberry last time was that it didn't taste at all like lime, or at least it didn't taste enough like lime. And I want a bit of that punch of sourness and bitterness that it brings. And then we're adding 5 grams of simple syrup because the strawberries are bringing quite a lot of sugar themselves. And finally, it's not a strawberry daiquiri unless I add a little bit of rum. At least not a proper one. So I'm going to add, we'll just say 20 grams of some lightly aged rum. Just enough to make it fun. Next up, we have a new recipe this week. This is one I've tried a lot in the past, which has never been very successful because of the carbonation. But now that we've sorted some of that out, we're ready to try again. 1/4 teaspoon of lime zest, only 12 grams of lime juice, 12 grams of lemon juice, and then our usual 10 grams of simple syrup. Just because a Sprite kombucha sounds pretty appealing to me. So hopefully this works out. And finally, we've got a variation on that strawberry limeade that we just made. This time with mango, and it's another 85 grams. This is also going to use the 3-stage fermentation so that we can keep the whole bottle carbonated. We could avoid all of that by using our juicer, but then we'd have to clean our juicer, and I'm certain nobody wants to do that. Another 1/4 teaspoon of lime zest, 24 grams of lime juice, and 5 grams of simple syrup. And this is going to get 3 days in the refrigerator before we strain it out backfill it with plain kombucha, and then carbonate it for another 3 days at 78 to 80 degrees. And now we're ready to fill our bottles. And this week we're using another all black tea blend. Three days have passed, and that should be enough time for our fruit puree to have flavored our kombucha. Now, since this is a 3-stage fermentation process, we have separated the flavoring from the carbonation. So we're going to open the bottle, strain out all the solids, and then bottle it back up again with a little bit extra to carbonate it. And why are we doing that? It's so that CO2 doesn't have a chance to build up into large bubbles under our fruit puree and blow it all out of the liquid. It should allow our whole kombucha to be carbonated well and uniformly. And ideally, not too much carbonation should be built up right now, but I have a feeling it will have. Noted. Smells like pure strawberry syrup. But it's not very sweet, so I think I'm going to bottle it with a little bit more simple syrup. Let's try 5 grams to start. Because while it doesn't need to taste sweet to end up carbonated, you do need it a little sweeter than you want it when you drink it, since some of that will be lost to carbonation. Going to add another 5. Another 3, so that's 13 added, and I'm going to call it. The strawberries that I have are quite sour, so it's not too hard to believe that they needed that much sugar. Now, to top this bottle off, I have some unfinished, unsweetened kombucha that's ready to go. You might notice that it's a little pinker than usual, and that's because this is from our wine kombucha. A few batches have passed, but it's still a little bit pinkish. And as a fun fact, it's actually much higher in alcohol content than my usual black tea blend. But we don't need to get into how we found that out. So this is our strawberry kombucha, and this is ready to go for another 3 days, this time at 78 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and I think we're going to have plenty of carbonation there. Next up is our mango kombucha. This one does not have rum. I forgot that our strawberry one did. Well, this one was just mango juice, lime juice, and simple syrup. I don't know why, it just feels like this one's going to be more carbonated. And it was not, so I'll edit that part out. I don't know why the 3-stage fermentation is always so appealing to me. You're mainly just trying to avoid using the juicer, which, as someone who has a juicer, I'm not sure it really makes much sense, because you're adding a lot of extra time and a lot of extra work. Is it worth it to wash 7 different parts and carry that up and down stairs to avoid all of this mess? Probably. But I know not everyone has one, so we'll pretend I did this for you. But if I actually just wanted to use mango juice, I would probably just buy a bottle from the store. If it's anything like pineapple, the canned juice is much better than trying to juice it myself with the questionably ripe fruit that I have access to. Pretty good. It would probably be fine, but I think I'm going to start with 3 grams more sugar. Not more sugar, more simple syrup. There's the difference. It's pretty good. I'm going to bottle it. These each only left us about a half cup shy, so overall not too bad. I'm going to let these go for a little bit, and then we should be ready to taste. See you then. Now that everything's had a chance to carbonate, we are ready to test our classic limeade. Does it have enough carbonation to let us get away with cutting off a few days? Does have visible carbonation. Just as sweet and sour as I would like it, but it's a little bit undercarbonated. I think I would have to go another day. But absolutely delicious. Definitely worth making. This is wonderful. Ooh, ooh, just delightful. Everything I hoped it would be. And let's just jump straight into our fake Sprite, which is the same recipe, but it's half lime juice, half lemon juice. See how that tastes. And this one went a full 7 days for its carbonation. Audibly more carbonated. A lot better head on top. Smells like a Sprite. A little too sour. Can't tell if it's because of the lemon juice or if that extra day allowed the yeast to use up more of the sugar to produce carbonation. And I suspect it's the latter. I think we might need to add a little bit more sugar to this. I don't enjoy this one as much. There's not as much flavor there. I think we need a little bit more sweetness to balance it out because the acidness is quite a punch. I like a very acidic citrus kombucha, but this is a step too far. I would say another 3 grams of added sugar. I think that would put it in the right spot. Next up, we have our lime pulp. Something that I think could be pleasant because I do enjoy that bitter punch, but we definitely went overboard in the carbonation episode. It smells more like a lime pulp. There's like a little bitter undertone there. I like it a little bit more as I drink it, and that bitterness is definitely a lot more subdued than last time, but it still just kind of throws a blanket over all the flavors. Not as much depth, there's not as much nuance of lime flavor. It just kind of smells and tastes like lime pulp. And not enough carbonation, even though it went for 7 days. If I bought this from the store, I think I'd be able to drink it and enjoy it, but coming off of that first Limeade, this doesn't compare at all. I think we can scrap this experiment here. We'll move on to the next. Next up, we have lime ginger. And the first time we tried this, there was way too much ginger flavor, even though we only added a single gram. So now that we've cut that in half and we've boosted the lime flavor a little bit, hopefully this is a little bit more balanced. Pretty good carbonation. It only smells like lime. I can taste a little bit of the ginger as I breathe out, but I'm not tasting it up front. And it is pretty delightfully carbonated. I'm not sure it's better than our first one, though. It is more carbonated, and there is still a good sweet-sour balance, even at 6 days. I think I would have to try them both at 6 days and see how they compare. Because while I like ginger well enough, I'm not sure if I want lime ginger. But it's certainly not unpleasant. Limeade coming in, ginger ale coming out. Not bad, but I think I would go with the original. And before we move on to our alcoholic option, I'm going to try our mango lime. Still quite a bit of pop, even with our 3-stage fermentation. A little bit of mango funk there. And quite hazy looking, too. Seems like there's probably a little bit more yeast in here. There is good acidity. There is good sweetness. It is distinctly mango. But I think there's too much mango, and I can smell a little bit of that yeast off flavor. I think they've had a little bit too much chance to run wild. I don't like it, but I don't know why, because I do like mango and I do like lime, and it does seem like it's in good balance. And there is good carbonation. I think it must be that yeast off flavor there. Yeah, I can't explain why, I don't like it. I would try this again, but I would try starting with pure mango juice, and I would try less of it too. I think then we'd be on to something. The next. Before we try our strawberry daiquiri, there is one extra kombucha I made this week. This is lemon ginger. The same proportions as our lime ginger, but I had an extra bottle. Whew. And this one you definitely get more of the ginger up front, but also a lot more of the lemon. It's a flavor that kind of just punches you in the face. A little too overcarbonated, I would say. Not unpleasant though, because I like both lemon and ginger. It is just a very aggressive sort of flavor. Not bad, but I think it needs a little bit of refinement. And finally, we have our strawberry daiquiri, which is this ABV. Some pretty okay carbonation there. Oh, smells 1000% like a strawberry daiquiri. Oh my god, so good. A little too aggressive on the acidity. I would probably dial that down a few grams, but everything else about it is perfect. It's delightfully carbonated. It's exactly like a strawberry daiquiri. I like that it's got rum in here. I might just finish the bottle right here. Yeah, I'm going to pour a second glass. That's delicious. This one's my favorite. The Limeade's probably close number 2. And something that I will practically probably make more because I won't have to juice a bunch of strawberries. Because that ends up taking 6 days as well, and it's even more work. So good. I mean, if you like strawberry daiquiris. I already feel better for drinking it. What can we take away from this? What did we learn here? There's just no getting around the fact that citrus juice takes a little bit longer to carbonate unless you're adding extra fruit with it. There's no real clever device or trick you can use to get around the fact that it just takes time. And unfortunately, it's just usually worth it. Woo! My God. And lemon and lime, even though their pHs are similar, the lemon seems to have a more aggressive acidity compared to the lime juice. I would use less of the juice than I would for the lime. And having tried pure lime, the split, and all lemon, I have to say I just prefer lime juice, which is why I made a lime episode and not a lemon one. Oh, this one's perfect. Definitely try and make that. Well, that's all we have today. Thank you for joining us. This is Reckless Pooch.